Okay? Now, if this powerful form of mind manipulation has been devised and primarily utilized by people who are racist and white supremacists in their thinking, then they will use this tool to expand their control and their power and their stranglehold on people. So we have to become aware of these realities and then begin to develop strategies to protect ourselves from the media. Okay? Now, what I wanted to do at this juncture is to share with you some images, drawing upon my experience in the field of advertising and design, and share with you some images that will help to make you keenly aware of the pervasive nature of racism in the media. I want to share some images that some of you may have seen before, but help you begin to process how this information should be analyzed in order to insulate yourself from the negative effects of images that you'll see in print, on television, and we'll talk a little bit more about how to deal with that. A couple examples, and let me just slide this over here. Let me share with you this image, which some of you may have seen before, all right? When O.J. Simpson was arrested, the LA Police Department took this mugshot of him. This picture appeared on the cover of Newsweek magazine, June the 21st, 1994, okay? That same picture also appeared on the cover of Time magazine. Here is the same picture on the cover of Time magazine. Okay? Now, what happened is that the people at Time intentionally manipulated the image of O.J. Simpson, intentionally darkened the image of O.J. Simpson in order to project in the minds of the public this ominous image of a black man, in order to convince the world that by virtue of the fact that he is black, then he is automatically guilty. Now, what was interesting is that the editor of Time magazine received so much flack for the intentional manipulation of this picture that they wound up apologizing in the second issue. And the editor, Jim Gaines, apologized. Essentially, in stating his apology, he says, to the extent to which this image offended anyone, I apologize. But it was not our intent to portray him as black and to suggest that black was evil. Now, the important thing that we have to become critically aware of is that whenever their racist intentions in the media are exposed, they will issue a standard apology. And we need to be aware of that apology and know how to deal with it, to be able to realize that the apology is unacceptable and yet be able to formulate significant plans of action. Now, let me share with you some other images that have also come out in the media that represent how others see us. Okay, and it's important to realize how others see you, right? Because what you will see in the images created in the media is their impression of you. And that impression, again, has the ability to influence millions of people throughout the world. In September of 1993, AT&T published in their newsletter 300,000 copies of this newsletter was circulated to AT&T employees throughout the world. And it wasn't until the African-American employees at AT&T received their newsletter and registered their complaints that the management at AT&T began to apologize for this illustration. What you see here is a cartoon depicting various people using the telephone equipment which is manufactured and produced by AT&T. You see in North America, a Caucasian on the telephone. In South America, a Caucasian on the telephone. In Northern and Central Europe, 2 Caucasians on the telephone. But in Africa, what do you see? A gorilla on the telephone. Now, let me explain something to you about the process that material has to go through before it is exposed to the general public. You usually will have an art director, a photography director, an editor, and teams of people sit around a table and determine every single component that the public is going to see weeks, sometimes months, before it is finally put out into the public's eye. So this is no accident. For weeks, everyone sitting around that table saw this image and had no objection to an African to a gorilla in Africa on the telephone. But when the African American employees registered their complaints, then the editors of this particular newsletter apologized, and they said that they didn't realize this image was offensive. Sound familiar? But what it tells you is how they see you, how they see all people of African descent. All right? It's important to know, it's important to have a strong perception of self, but it's also important to understand how others see you. All right? Several months later, in Indiana, an organization entitled the Indiana State Medical Association, which sponsors an annual conference and reception, they sent out 5,000 copies of an invitation for their reception to every member of the Indiana State Legislature, as well as all of the physicians in the state of Indiana. And again, it wasn't until the African American members of the Indiana State Legislature received the invitation for the reception and registered their disgust that the person responsible for creating the invitation began to apologize. Here is the invitation. It consisted of 3 basic components. The theme of the reception was jungle fever. It had a monkey sitting on a stack of bananas. Another component within the invitation was a depiction of an African dressed as a cannibal with a bone in his nose cooking 2 white people in a pot. All right? Just so happened that the person responsible for designing this invitation happened to be of Jewish ancestry. All right? And when complaints began to come on a consistent basis, he apologized and issued the standard apology and said, "I didn't realize that this image was offensive." Right? They wound up canceling the reception, and he issued apologies to literally thousands of people, and I hope he lost his job. But again, what it does is reinforce the point that others see us in a specific light, and they will use the power of the media to project those perceptions into the minds of other folk and to influence how they see you too. Let me give you another quick example, and then we move on to some other issues. Again, I'm showing you these things because I want you to realize how subtle and not so subtle these attacks are against your being. They exist all around you. And the challenge is you cannot afford to take anything for granted. Everything that you see, especially here in New York, where the media reigns in New York, you all are constantly bombarded by images and billboards and all kinds of things that assault your senses and your spirit 24 hours a day. You have to be aware of the assault and then begin to do specific things to insulate yourself from this barrage that is designed to demoralize you, whether you are conscious of it or not. And the worst thing that you could do is to participate in your own demoralization. All right? So you have to be aware of what is happening. Let me give you another example, again, using two photographs of the same reflecting the same thing that also reflect 2 different interpretations, 2 different ideologies. In June of 1991, Spike Lee released his then latest film, Jungle Fever, which was about an interracial relationship. And the week that the film was released, 2 nationally syndicated publications featured the lead actors in the film, which was about an interracial relationship, featured the lead actors in the film on their front covers. Now, if you just saw the magazine covers independent of one another, you may not have thought very much of them. But when you compare the 2 side by side, you begin to see that there are things that you have to take note of. All right? Here's the cover of Jet magazine on the week of June the 10th, 1991. Okay? Here's the cover of Newsweek magazine, the week of June the 10th, 1991. Okay? Now, so I take it you all see, you get the message, right? Now, let me share something with you. Let me share something with you about images in the media. Everything that you see is important, has a meaning, as I mentioned earlier, the art director, the photography director, the other designers determine where every single component is going to be placed within any advertisement. So what you see here is no accident. What you see here reflects the mentality, the philosophy of the editorial staff of that specific publication. All right? Another thing that I want you to be aware of is that in photographs, particularly, placement is critical. Particularly when you have two people next to each other, height denotes power, importance, okay? Look at this image, Wesley Snipes. He's placed in a position which suggests that he is inferior, subservient to the European female. What this image does is to support the unspoken hierarchy which exists within this country. That hierarchy is white male, white female, black female, black male. Contrast that positioning to this positioning on the cover of Jet magazine. Huh? Okay? But also, Brother Brown, can I ask you, is it possible to shift that light a little bit so that we can see the images a little bit clearer? Because I want you all to take note of a couple of things. Look at their pictures here now. They're smiling, they're snuggling, which supports the philosophy of Jet magazine. Jet magazine says, we're all human beings. We all should just learn to get along and be happy together. One big happy family, right? That's Jet's philosophy. Jet is a nice Negro publication, and we have to understand it for what it is. Contrast that positioning to this one. Now you have to see it. You have to see it because you have to learn how to analyze what you see. Analyze what you see. You notice that Wesley Snipes is in a subservient position, but you also notice that the artist, he's not smiling, exactly, all right? The artist darkened his face and lightened her face. Why? In order to reinforce the title, the theme of this particular issue, tackling a taboo. Taboo is the largest word on the cover. That is a design. It is a design. All of these elements, all of these decisions were made by people who have a specific agenda. All right? So you can't afford to drop your guard for 1 second if you're living in a racist and white supremacist society which uses media as a tool to denigrate you every single second of your life. One of the things that we've done in the book, Survival Strategies, each of the steps is broken down into 3 components. The first component is like an inspirational message which introduces the step. The second component is the historical data which substantiates that step. The third component is like a prescription that gives you the information that you need in order to overcome this problem, right? The whole idea is to give you tools to overcome the problems and the obstacles which face us every single day. And I believe wholeheartedly that, we can't just come and talk about problems without beginning to offer solutions to those problems. And so the book is structured in that manner. The third step is perception precedes being. You are who you believe you are. All right, that's important because our perceptions of self were given to us by people who have historically hated us, devalued our history, our culture, our God concepts, our women, our appearance, our hair texture, the shapes of our noses. All of these things have been made to be undesirable. So if these perceptions have been given to us, then one of the things that we have to begin to do is to take responsibility for changing our perceptions of reality. It becomes critically important then, because of the fact that we live in an English-speaking nation, to understand the power of words to influence our perceptions. Ossie Davis raised this issue in an article that he wrote in 1967 issue of the Journal of the Negro History Bulletin. Article was entitled "The English Language is My Enemy." And he spoke specifically on the fact that this language denigrates blackness.